The deep state just got hit with a nuclear bomb of justice. Grand juries convened, FBI raids executed, prison cells prepared. Bolton caught red-handed with stolen classified documents. Letitia James, a different James, nailed for mortgage fraud that could put her away for 60 years. Adam Schiff's leaks traced, documented, and ready for prosecution. Now, these are not rumors or wishful thinking. These are federal cases with teeth, and the sharks smell blood. The same criminals who tried to destroy Trump are now begging for mercy that they will never get. The reign of terror is over. The handcuffs are coming, and what you're about to see will restore your faith in justice. So lock and load. And just like the deep state officials are facing justice today, Medicare fraud is another system rigged against honest Americans. That is why Chapter makes Medicare simple. In less than 20 minutes, they will compare every single plan available, over 24,000 nationwide, and help you find the one that fits you. On average, seniors who work with Chapter save $1,100 a year. And Chapter's advisors are independent. They're not salaried. They're salaried, not paid commissions. They work for you and not the insurance companies. Now, the annual enrollment period is here, so make sure you are not overpaying. Call Chapter today at 910-728-4109. That's 910-728-4109. Or you can hit the link down in the description. So here is the picture that we all want to see. Yes, Obama, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Biden, all shackled and heading off to prison for their own little chain gang. President Trump, just a few hours ago, posting this on Truth Social, going after Adam Schiff. The Ukraine impeachment of me, President Trump writes. Scam, he calls it. Scam was far bigger illegal hoax than Watergate. I sincerely hope the necessary authorities, including Congress, are looking into this. Adam Shifty Schiff was so dishonest and corrupt. So many laws and protocols were violated and just plain broken. Signed, President DJT. So let's read between the lines here. I hope the necessary authorities, including Congress, are looking into this. And then, boom, next line, Adam Shifty Schiff was so dishonest and corrupt. What is he saying there? Well, he's saying go after Adam Schiff. In the Oval Office, just a few hours ago, President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel, AG Pambandi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche standing behind him, put the entire deep state on notice and called out Jack Smith, Andrew Weissman, Lisa Monaco, and Adam Schiff. I think it was the worst weaponization of a political opponent in the history of the world, let alone this country. What they did was criminal. Buckle up. Listen to this.
That had to suffer.
President, given you have the FBI Director and Attorney General here today, Jim Jordan has asked Jack Smith to appear in front of the House Judiciary.
You mean deranged, Jack? He's a deranged individual, yeah.
He's asked him to...
Well, they should. I'm surprised it takes so long. Right. You know, we're talking about violent crime. What about the crime against a political opponent? That's what we have to talk about, too.
Jordan would like to understand the full extent to which the Biden-Harris Justice Department weaponized federal law enforcement. What do you think the committee will find out, Mr. Smith?
I think it was the worst weaponization of a political opponent in the history of the world, let alone this country. And I hope that everybody's, they're involved in it. I'm not. I'm the one that had to suffer through it and ultimately win. But what they did was criminal. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. And I noticed his interviewer was, I think that was Weissman. And I hope they're going to look into Weissman, too. Weissman's a bad guy. And he had somebody in Lisa, who was his puppet, worked in the office really as the top person. And I think that she should be looked at very strongly. There was tremendous criminal activity having to do. If we don't have fair elections in this country, we're not going to have a country. And I've said it from the beginning, fair elections and borders. And we need also fair press, because if you don't have fair press, it's very tough. And we've got the strongest border of anybody. Nobody has a border. We have a border where the numbers just came out again. You saw 0 people came in illegally. Now, we do take people into our country legally, but 0 people. But, you're talking about a different subject. You're talking about political crime. They have committed massive political crime. I hope they're looking at Shifty Schiff. I hope they're looking at all these people. And I'm allowed to find out. I'm allowed to, I'm, in theory, the chief law enforcement officer. But I have a very good, talented group. This is about something else. But I hope they're looking at political crime, because there's never been so much political crime against a political opponent as what I had to go through. They raided my house in Florida. It was an illegal raid. I have a lawsuit that was doing very well. And when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say, give me X dollars, right? And I don't know what to do with the lawsuit. It's a great lawsuit. And now I won. It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So I don't know. But that was a lawsuit that was very strong, very powerful. They raided illegally my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. They went through the drawers of my young son. They went through all of the cabinets and drawers of the First Lady. She walked in, she said, wow, what happened? Because she's very meticulous, and this wasn't so meticulous. As she looked into the drawers and she saw everything a mess. It's what they did against a person that just got out of office. And then you look at these corrupt people. You look at Hunter Biden. You look at the signature. As an example, the Europen. I just signed so many different things. An admiral, a four-star general. I'm signing them left and right, the commissions. And by the way, I want to compliment John Thune and also Mike, our great speaker. But John Thune, all of a sudden I'm getting these things by the hundreds. I was getting one every 2 weeks. It would have been 4 years before you got them in more. You would have had some that didn't even get in, all because of Democrat obstruction. So John Thune did a great job. I must have signed 200 into the administration. We're just about caught up. It's amazing. And so compliments to John. He had to do some things that were very tough to do that he didn't want to do, but he was forced to do it by the Democrats. And as far as the shutdown's concerned, this is a Democrat Schumer shutdown. And he's trying to do it to get relevance back into the party because he's a loser. I've known him all his life. He's always been sort of a loser, but an intelligent one. But I think he's losing IQ points with time. I think that happens. I hope it hasn't happened with me. I know if it did, you guys will let me know about it very quickly.
He's a loser. Well, you heard him say it right there. So first we have the post on True Social dropping Adam Schiff's name. Then we have him in the Oval Office during the FBI briefing, dropping Adam Schiff's name again. And now we have this just a few moments ago in the White House. FBI Director Kash Patel confirming there are more indictments coming down the pipeline.
Are just the beginning.
Beyond those who are already charged, do you think you've seen other crimes that might eventually get referred to justice?
Yes, we are looking at so many different leads on criminal activity by those who are in positions of power. And we're not going to stop until every single one of those is fully exposed. The documents are provided either to Congress or the courts of law and make every referral we can into the Department of Justice. These indictments that you've seen and the ones that you're going to see coming up here in this near future are just the beginning. But I have to remind the audience one thing. Everybody's like, it's 7 months. What have you guys been doing?
Yeah.
Well, they spent 20 years building this disease temple of corruption. It takes a little bit of time to defeat it and beat it down. And I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to look at the work the men and women of the FBI have done so far in these 7-8 months and just imagine what we're going to do come the year end.
Diseased temple of crime. That's what the FBI director just referred to the last 20 years of the deep state. Now, we're finding out that we have news that Bolton, Letitia James, she's got her day coming. But here is the news. MSNBC just revealed that a grand jury has been convened for weeks on disgraced NSA Director John Bolton. John Bolton set to be indicted by a grand jury over sharing secret files. This just in a few hours ago. Here's the news as it broke.
Critic of Bolton, former national security advisor turned sharp critic of Donald Trump, is expected to be the subject of a complaint or even an indictment as early as next week. MSNBC, citing two sources, is reporting exclusively that the acting U.S. attorney in Maryland is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against Bolton. They reportedly relate to claims that he improperly kept classified national security information in his Maryland home. His home was searched in August. Bolton's lawyer insists that his client, John Bolton, did nothing improper. It is the second instance of targeting a prominent Trump critic. Bolton, former national...
Targeting a Trump critic. Oh, and looks like Barack Obama's back. C3 writes that the man that tried to frame President Trump for treason doesn't want President Trump's DOJ to prosecute criminals. Well, that's not how this works. Obama sounds a little worried here.
BI to be, we don't want, kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that.
Oh, he looks so scared. He knows he is guilty as hell.
We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in
and all the facts lead straight to you, pal.
And in politics, the way we've seen lately. And I think if enough people start not just being in a fetal position.
You'll be in a fetal position when they come to your house and raid you and pull you out in your underwear.
Not worrying about it. And detached from it, but being vigilant, but also saying, you know what,
enough of this
we can stand up to this. We can call it like we see it. We need people who have whatever platforms they have to be able to say, no, that's not who we are. Well,
actually, I'm on my platform, and I'm saying that's exactly what we need to be, because we need to take people like you down who started this whole thing with Hillary Clinton.
Be willing to get attacked on X by whoever for doing that. And it's not easy.
Yeah, because sometimes you fear for your life.
Yeah, and we don't want...
Yes, he does sound nervous. Check this out. Major alert. Jack Unheard posts this. Dan Scavino reposts his 2024 post exposing the disappearance of John Bolton's documents from top secret meetings. President Trump has an FBI press conference, and that just happened today. Is it going down? So Dan Scavino writes this. He posts on X, a repost. What did John Bolton do with all of his yellow notepads that he always took copious notes on in the cabinet room, Oval Office, Situation Room, traveling abroad, etc., etc.? He posted that on December 2nd of 2024. At the time, 704,000 views. Dan Scavino reposting that just a few hours ago, sending a coded message. And now this headline is breaking just a few hours ago. John Bolton officially set to be indicted by a grand jury over sharing secret files. A grand jury is convening today to consider charges against ex-National Security Chief John Bolton over sharing classified documents. It comes 2 months after an FBI raid on the former Trump staffer's Maryland home in search of allegedly stolen, highly sensitive national security files. DOJ expects an indictment to be filed against the 76-year-old on Wednesday or Thursday. The case is airtight, sources told the New York Post. Bolton is accused of using his private email account to remove secret information and record detailed minutes of his daily activities during his time in office. Bolton served as an advisor to Trump from April of 2018 until the president fired in September 2019. The hawkish military advisor often clashed with Trump's diplomacy-first strategy when engaging with rival countries such as North Korea or China. FBI agents removed a white binder with the label Statements and Reflections to Allied Strikes from Bolton's property, according to a DOJ court filing released last month following the raid on his home. Typed documents stuck in folders labeled Trump 1 through 4 were taken from Bolton's home, as well as 4 boxes containing printed daily activities. So there's the headline right now, breaking news on the Daily Mail. Now, we have this also, MSNBC revealing the grand jury had convened. Let's listen.
Grand jury indictment, and that could come. They are building, apparently, a case that is against a Trump perceived enemy and yet one who worked for President Trump, longtime neoconservative foreign policy voice John Bolton. Now, The suggestion is they are close to getting where they, the Trump DOJ officials, want, and they're trying to cook up this case to get a grand jury indictment, and that could come as soon as next week. The case has sped up. Bolton, of course, was the former national security advisor to President Trump, a top U.S. official. And since leaving office, while he is not a lefty going to No Kings protests, they are building apparently a case.
And the case is now happening. They're looking for the diary notes in John Bolton's emails from when he served as President Trump's national security advisor. And now we have this about Letitia James. The mortgage document New York AG Letitia James signed has her facing 60 years in prison. Here is the message that she sent to America after she was indicted.
Solid rock. See, I know what it feels like to be attacked for just doing your job. But I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity. And so I stand on solid rock.
You're screwed, honey.
And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up. You come for me, you gotta come to all of us.
Why does she have this weird inflection? All of us, you gotta come for all of us. Why? What's with the weird inflection? All right, you're not MLK.
All of us, every single one of us. We're all in this together. You see, I've learned to stand on the shoulders of my ancestors who've been before, who came before me and who weathered the storm. And despite being seared with scars,
oh yeah,
they survived. And if they can survive, so will we.
Those people are not in your fight. It's your fight alone, honey.
So over the last few days, I've summoned their strength and their courage. And I will keep fighting for justice. I will keep fighting for New Yorkers. I will keep fighting the aggressive policies of Washington, D.C., and I will not stop.
Yeah, I think you're going to come to a screeching halt, actually, because you've been indicted. We got some more. Let's flash back here to this is actually 6 hours ago. Inquiring minds want to know, where is the grand jury on the CIA? John Brennan. He overruled his own staff to get Steele dossier included in an official U.S. intelligence assessment and one that embraced false claims about Trump from the Clinton campaign. Oh.
Said, we just... Hillary Clinton is going. What was just released, in my view, undermined the testimony of people like John Brennan. But what Radcliffe is talking about is exposing it all to show the public exactly what happened. This is the real Russian conspiracy. There wasn't a Russian collusion conspiracy, but there was a Russian conspiracy. It's when John Brennan went into Obama in 2016 and said, we just heard Hillary Clinton is going to come up with a Russian collusion claim to hit Trump in the election. And then months later, it was Brennan, according to these documents, who overruled his own staff to get this infamous dossier included in the intelligence assessment. Yeah. What was just...
Yeah, what's going to happen with John Brennan? We all want to see that guy go down, too. Of course, we all remember this moment. Tulsi Gabbard confirming back in July, Obama directing his intelligence community to reach a conclusion they needed to reach, leading them to create the Russian interference document that James Comey, Brennan, and other intelligence officials later used to lie under oath. This was an absolutely historic moment.
Interfered what they called the summary of conclusions from that meeting. Then DNI James Clapper took the lead on what President Obama wanted done, and which was essentially create a document that tells us not if, but how Russia interfered with the election. President Obama delivered the conclusion that he wanted the intelligence community to reach and directed them to find and essentially create and manufacture the intelligence to support the conclusion that President Obama wanted to deliver to the American people. Once that document was drafted, the deep state kicked into gear and did what they usually do. They started leaking this classified information out to their friends at the Washington Post and others who are working hand in glove with the deep state to lay the groundwork for the assessment that they eventually released that served as the basis, once again, for this years-long coup with the goal of trying to subvert the American people's will and usurp President Trump from being able to deliver on the mandate that the American people gave to him when they chose to elect him as president of the United States.
Oh, it's all going down, folks. It's all going down. Kash Patel, more indictments, President Trump labeling Adam Schiff, posting about him. We've got Letitia James freaking out. I mean, here is Dan Bongino.
Jim Comey. I got to tell you, of all the things that have surprised me in the close to now 3 months I've been here, is the depravity of Jim Comey. This man is a disgrace to the badge, the FBI, and the country. What he's doing right now, one, going out and me taking shots at Kash. Kash doesn't belong. Kash was the chief of staff at the Department of. Kash is a patriot. Kash has served in numerous high-level roles, taking personal shots while you're on the beach, implying a threat towards the president and blaming your wife about it. And let me just add about James Comey, Saint Comey, who walks around there moralizing to everyone how wonderful of a human being he is. What you said is absolutely accurate. We have wasted countless man hours now running out tips to our tip line about people putting 8647 because of Jim Comey, because he cannot control himself and his emotions. He is a child. He is a big child. And let me tell you one more thing. Look at Jim Comey, who wants you to believe. Jim Comey taking a shot at the president. Oh, look at me. I'm such a victim. The president's going after me. He's making a ton of money on this book. The only person that got prosecuted was the president. Jim Comey, we're finding stuff even now. I got to tell you, of all the...
And that's why Jim Comey was indicted. Going back to Letitia James, we have the documents here. Mortgage document, New York. AG Letitia James signed, has her facing 60 years, been housing her fugitive grandniece allegedly in her Virginia home, according to the New York Post. Okay. Letitia James, indicted, is housing fugitive grandniece in her Virginia home. New York Post headline. This is the document New York AG Letitia James signed that has her facing 60 years in prison. This is the mortgage document. One-page mortgage document signed by New York State Attorney General Letitia James is the center of the federal criminal charges, which is she now faced 60 years in the second home rider for her mortgage, which was obtained by the Post. James attested the property would be a second home occupied primarily by her. It allowed her to secure a better mortgage rate from Old Virginia Mortgage and Annie Mac, netting her nearly $19,000 in mortgage savings, according to federal prosecutors. In reality, James' serial criminal grandniece, Nakia Thompson, moved in soon after she closed on the house, according to the Times. Much of the strength of the case, which alleges James committed federal bank fraud and made misstatements to a financial institution, could rest on whether Thompson was paying rent. But the relative of the New York's top prosecutor told a grand jury in June she was living rent-free in the 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, according to the Times. James' signature appears at the bottom of the mortgage rider, dated August 17, 2020, which explicitly lays out what the home can and cannot be used for. Among the covenants on the rider were a requirement that James would occupy and use the property as a second home and maintain exclusive control over its occupancy. She also attested the property would be available primarily for her personal use for at least 1 year. The signed document forbids any shared ownership arrangement, requiring her to rent the property out or give a management firm or any other person or entity any control over the occupant or use of the property, and that it would be used primarily for her own personal use. It goes so far as to include a section saying James would be considered in default on a $109,000 loan if she or anyone else acting at her direction gave inaccurate information or statements regarding her occupancy or the residence of a second home. Much of the case could hinge on Thompson's statement that she wasn't paying rent. Prosecutors said that in their indictment that James filed tax documents showing she spent 0 days in the house and that she received thousands of dollars in rental income. She also claimed exemptions for money she spent on the property, according to the documents. However, Thompson's criminal record could come back to harm James, one legal expert said. The 36-year-old is a fugitive from justice in North Carolina, where she pleaded guilty to assaulting a cop in 2011. She also has a lengthy rap sheet in Virginia, including grand larceny and possession of burglary tools. If Thompson was called as a defense witness, prosecutors would seek to use her criminal history to discredit her testimony, said former federal prosecutor Nima Ramini. It'll be up to the judge in the case to decide whether to allow Thompson's criminal history to be used to impeach her, she said. James was hit with federal charges out of the Eastern District of Virginia last week, alleging the home was not occupied or used by James as a secondary residence and was instead used as a rental investment property. So these are the documents themselves in question for the property. See if we can zoom in better here. You can see the site description, picture of the home, some redacted sections here, and more redaction, the loan number, deed of trust, tax ID, considerations. And here is the borrower's note, second home rider. This is the rider itself for the loan. More redacted documents there. And then here is more from that rider. Signed by Letitia James. So this is bad news for Letitia. You know, she tried to go after Donald Trump for trying to get better rates on his mortgages. And now she's getting the same attention. Because no one's above the law, remember? Check this out here. Let's check in with Stephen Miller, reflecting on James Comey.
Russia, it truly is one of the most heinous things that has ever happened in the history of our country, what James Comey did to our democracy. I can't think of anybody in modern history who has done more to sabotage and attack our constitutional republic than James Comey, beginning with the Russia hoax in 2016, as you said, the dirty dossier. James Comey, as the head of the FBI, tried to lay a trap to remove a duly elected president from office, to imprison and incarcerate his political allies and friends, and to lead an actual coup against the laws and Constitution of the United States. What James Comey did is truly one of the most severe assaults on our freedoms and liberties that has occurred in the whole history of this nation. It truly is.
James Comey. The trio. James Comey's FBI was in bed with the New York Times, pushing hoaxes together. More documents being released. FBI assisted with the April 2017 article. Redacted. Investigators learned that the FBI Office of Public Affairs, OPA, was told to assist the New York Times with the April 2017 article. According to interviews with FBI employees, Comey either directed or otherwise authorized FBI officials to assist in the New York Times, assistance to the New York Times. FBI OPA did not coordinate or brief DOJ leadership or DOJ OPA about this decision, even though AG Lynch had left the department and DOJ regulations called for DOJ OPA coordination in case of media contact with New York Times. As part of the FBI's assistance, FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were interviewed by the New York Times. Holy cow. Those two. Friends, we may be seeing this picture sooner than later. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what accountability looks like, folks. For years, these three ran wild. Bolton stealing classified documents like he was shopping at a government yard sale. James committing the exact mortgage fraud she prosecuted Donald Trump for. Schiff leaking classified intel while pretending to protect democracy. They weaponized our justice system, turned it into their personal hit squad, and thought they'd never face consequences. Well, guess what? The boomerang just came back. Grand juries are meeting, indictments are dropping, prison cells are waiting. This is not revenge. It's justice delayed, but not denied. The same people who screamed, "No one is above the law," are about to learn what that really means. So here's my question. Should all three face the maximum sentence for their crimes? Yes or no? Drop in the comments. And while you're at it, share your support for real justice and check out our merch shop. It is linked down below.